How's it going, everybody? Nathaniel from RCInsight here, and today I am re-reviewing the Perplexus Death Star. Now, I reviewed this a long time ago on my channel when I had hardly even managed to complete half of the course, in fact, because back then I just wanted all the views I could get. So now, almost 5 years later, I am going to be talking about the set again as I just beat it, and I'll be giving you a more complete and whole look at the Death Star, as well as hopefully a more refined video than the one from 5 years ago. So the Perplexus Death Star goes from 1 to 115, and it has one checkpoint. So it has the start, and then there's a checkpoint at the halfway mark, roughly, I believe it's at 55. So this, to me, is the hardest Perplexus there is. If you're talking about just a purest Perplexus experience, that's probably epic. But in terms of difficulty, this is the hardest Perplexus there is, in my opinion. It's not the longest. Both the Perplexus Epic and the Perplexus 3x3 Fusion are longer than this. However, this probably has the most overall track, I'd think, and some of the most complex and difficult obstacles of any Perplexus I've ever seen. Quickly, before I talk about all the unique obstacles and stuff in this Perplexus, I would like to note that there is a sound feature here. When I slide this across, the sounds should play. The battery is long dead, but you just get sounds of lightsabers, and then when you complete it, you drop the ball in the little exhaust pipe hole that Luke shoots the phasers in A New Hope, and that has then the explosion sound. It triggers the explosion sound like you've blown up the Death Star when you complete it. That is it for the sound features here. There's also some light featuring in the middle, I think, with like red and green for like the lightsabers. Honestly, very distracting when you're playing it. You're never going to want to play it with the sound features, but it's there, just so you guys know. So in terms of unique obstacles, this thing just starts off unique right out the bat. And the first thing you'll notice is actually that its shell looks and is shaped like the Death Star. You'll notice this is the most obvious giveaway, but you can tell there's kind of lines and segments on the shell here that make you realize that it's shaped like the Death Star. This is the only Perplexus with a hard plastic shell like this that I'm aware of. This is a hard shell. It is the heavy Perplexus, and that is not a bad thing. I really like the hard shell more than the soft shells, actually. But that does, in of itself, just add an additional layer of difficulty, because all these sections where there's the lines, it can be a little difficult, as you can see from the video, to kind of track and see where the marble is. Sometimes you can kind of get lost in these lines. So right away, that is just one thing that makes this set a little more difficult. Then it starts at the top here. The entrance is different than, again, any Perplexus that you'll have seen, where you drop it in like this, and right off the bat we start with a downward spiral, which is different again from any Perplexus, and that kind of sets the tone for this whole thing. And you'll notice there's lots and lots of drop sections in this Perplexus, and lots of just things like, not necessarily that I'm sitting here going, oh, that's so unique, but like here, you have to go around the inside of that hole there, and so just a bunch of like an arched track section there. So lots of stuff that is just really different from past Perplexuses. There are a few obstacles that I do want to draw some attention to, though, in particular. The first one being this little R2-D2 that is on the top, and he controls the X-Wing, and this is the external feature in here, kind of like, you know, the warp has those sliders or twist, you can twist it. This is that additional feature for the Death Star, and it's that you have this X-Wing that you can spin, and there's a magnet on the bottom of it that it picks up the marble and carries it from various sections of the track to other parts of the track. I do have a tutorial on how to do that, because that can be quite confusing, so there's one of those linked on my channel if you're interested in it. There's also the usage of a Darth Vader helmet here. The obstacle itself is not super unique, but again, Darth Vader helmet, so it's worth pointing out. There's also a little Rebel Trooper hat here, which is involved in a unique obstacle where it swings, and is just another example of a drop section. There's also this spiral up at the top. I've not seen anything like that, where it kind of spins around and goes down and through, which was really nice. And there is a section on the interior, similar to something that you get actually in the Perplexus Twist, where you have to maneuver the inside of this core shaft. You can also see the very end, 115 right there, where you drop the ball through and into the port to blow up the Death Star. And those are the main unique obstacles that I want to show you guys. And then I want to talk about drop sections, because this Perplexus has an insane amount of drop sections, and they are insanely difficult. So, from the very beginning, from the very get-go, there's lots of drop sections on this thing. But there's a few in particular that are really worth noting. There's one right after the second checkpoint here, where you have to go down that U-shaped thing, and then you drop it across two different sections of track into a landing down here. It is so insanely difficult. You can see it kind of right there on my screen. You can see how all three of those line up there, and that is probably one of the most, if not the most difficult obstacle that there is just across Perplexus, in my opinion. There's also obviously a drop section to finish this off. You have some drop sections here with this spiral tube. There's another big drop section here on the right that drops you all the way down. And then even some more simpler stuff, like there's a double staggered drop section here where it drops down and then across and you flip it upside down. So like this set really leans into those drop sections for good or for ill. It definitely makes it much more challenging. This basket here, it's also a bit of a unique obstacle, and probably the other one that I actually feel like I should point out that I have glossed over to this point, there's two of them, are these uphill stairs. You can see, I call them uphill stairs, you can see them there. They're quite unique and quite difficult and different from what you'd expect. And then also this really weird, I don't even know what it is, but you can see the way the track is kind of dipped down and in through that section there, and both times you have to drop onto it, and it's a very different piece of track, something I've not really seen anything like before. Not a particularly difficult obstacle, but a fun and different one at that. The last thing worth pointing out is there's probably the hardest ever side flip section here. That's what I call them, where you have to you can fall at the bottom and you can fall at the top, and so you basically have to really quickly jar the Perplexus to get it to stay flat on the track. And right here, because you'll notice the top of it is capped there in a way that it makes it a really, really difficult obstacle. And that, I would say, is the bulk of the obstacles that I want to highlight on this Perplexus. Another unique obstacle here, which I almost forgot, is there is a totally wall-less section in this maze, which again, it's absolutely insane, the fact that there's a fully wall-less section. It's very short, and it is challenging. It's not impossible, but again, just goes to show you how difficult they have made this Perplexus. So overall, like I said, this is probably the hardest Perplexus, but it is a really, really fun one. The color scheme here perfectly captures the theme of the Death Star, and it has a slew of really unique obstacles here. Very different from most of what we've seen in any of the other Perplexuses, and I really love this because of that. It's absolutely the ultimate challenge currently for Perplexus players. I'm hoping they do make another large Perplexus like this soon, but right now I'd say this is the ultimate challenge, and just a blast of a toy to play around with. There's not a whole lot that it borrows from other Perplexus sets, which is nice. So overall, like I said, I think this is the hardest Perplexus and probably close to the longest. I don't know, Epic might be a little bit longer in terms of length, but they're both very large, very long Perplexuses. But this one, I think, might be my favorite. There's just so many unique obstacles that are so different from any of the other Perplexuses, as I've shown you, and lots of, it doesn't borrow a lot from the other Perplexuses, but it still feels very Perplexus at its core. So, it feels fresh, but also classic at the same time, and I really like that. Obviously, there's some bonuses with the lights and sound features. If that interests you, it obviously doesn't interest me, but overall, and then there's also the hard shell. So there's just a lot to like here, and certainly if you love Perplexus and you're looking for the ultimate Perplexus challenge, then the Perplexus Death Star is the ultimate Perplexus challenge. This is just such a fun toy to play with. It took me years and years to finally beat it on and off playing it, and so there is so much time and value for my money here. It is obviously no longer available for sale like the original core games, but you can buy it for resale on Amazon, and I don't think it's too expensive. Amazon, eBay, anything like that should have it, and maybe if you're lucky, your local toy store will as well. But yeah, definitely if you are looking at collecting Perplexuses, this is one of the ones that I would recommend at the very top of my list, as long as you have some familiarity with the series. Obviously, this is not the Perplexus that you want to start with. That would be a ridiculous mistake. But if you are a seasoned veteran, or if you have played a few of them and you really love them and you don't have this one, then this is a must grab. So that is my updated review for the Perplexus Death Star, guys. Now that I have finished it, I love this Perplexus so much, and I plan on doing a ranking video soon now that I have finished all of the Perplexuses, with the exception of the 2x2 Rubik's Perplexus set. So I do plan on doing a ranking video soon where I'll talk about all the Perplexuses, and yeah, absolutely love this. This will be up at the top. If you guys like this video, if you found it useful, please click the like button down below to show your support. As always, subscribe for more content like this. I have tons of Perplexus content on my channel. Basically, every Perplexus now at this point is covered, and I'm finding ways to continue to bring more Perplexus content for you guys in the future. And yeah, so subscribe if any of that interests you. And with all that said, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.